There's only one thing for us to do, Moors, and that's to proclaim our nationality, to be recognized by the nations of the earth. Our birthright was stolen, and now it's time to take it back. I know it's today. If not now, then when? Islam, Shalom, Assalamu Alaikum, Hotep, and peace. Welcome to our show once again. We are talking about Moorish Preparedness series, and I am Sheikess L, your host. Today we're going to be discussing Moorish Civics and Preparedness. We are teaching those things necessary to help make our people better citizens. Remember, if you don't know your rights, you're presumed to have none, according to law now. Today we have in the studio Grand Sheik Walton Ill, Moorish Consulate of Temple Number 11, Islam, Grand Sheik. We have also Sheik Love Ill, Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office, Islam Sheik.
Islam, Sister Sheikess.
Islam, peace. Today, brothers and sisters, we're going to share with you some information from our holy book, Moorish Science Temple of America. I'm reading from chapter 47, verse 6. It states, the Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the great pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit North America. They were the founders and are the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire. Grand Sheik Walton Ill, how is it the Prophet Noble Jew Ali is emperor of the present Moroccan Empire? And what is the present Moroccan Empire today?
Yes, ma'am. I want you to hold up the picture of the Prophet sitting on the throne. It was chapter 29. This is the chapter 29, magistrate and subject. O thou, the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, they equals, have agreed to raise to sovereign power, as set as a ruler over themselves, consider the ends and importance of their trust far more than dignity and height of thy station. Thy art clothed in purple, seated on the throne, the crown of majesty invested thy temples. The scepter of power is placed in thy hand, but not for thyself. Or were these insights given, not meant for thy own, but for the good of thy kingdom? So you can stop there. The Prophet knew from 1928 that he wasn't going to partake into what he had given unto his beneficiary and heirs to the Moorish Science Temple of America. And those, which was the trust, the 1928 Vast Estate Trust. But how he is tied into the present Moroccan Empire, we go to chapter 47. Chapter 47 is a fee simple absolute deed, in which a fee simple ties back to inheritance. And absolute means total. They can never sell. By birthright, you inherit the land, but can never sell the land. It's not to be sold by the ones who inherit the land. So by birthright, the importance of the Prophet touching on birthright was key. And the present Moroccan Empire was stretched from, and you go into chapter 47, he gives by metes and bounds, he gives in the fee simple absolute deed and verse 7. He said, the dominion and habitation extended from northeast, southwest, northeast and southwest Africa across the great Atlantis, even unto the present North and South Central America, also Mexico, and the Atlantis Islands before the great earthquake which caused the great Atlantic Ocean. So right there describe North and South Central America, or Mexico, is the present and modern day Moroccan Empire.
Absolutely, and that has been documented. I thank you for that, brother. Yeah. As I mentioned, we're talking Moorish civics and preparedness. And civics, that Department of Political Science, which teaches the citizens citizenship and the rights of citizenship, the duties of citizens, and relating to citizens, cities, and to civil affairs.
Yes.
Now, we understand it is the duty of all true American citizens to take their places in the affairs of their cities and their communities.
Yes.
Let's talk about the status here in North America of the minority. What is the status of a minority?
Right now, the status of a minority is that of a serf, slave, in the feudal system. You would consider lord and none. It has a status, even an animal has a higher status than a Negro. Animal does. And that's going to the Black Codes of 1720, I think 1725. It's still on the books. And it's hidden through municipal codes today, statutory codes. The same law still applies. The Black Codes of 1724 still applies. The Negro Act of 1601 still applies. The Virginian law still applies to today, until this day, because anyone who deludes to Negro, Black, colored, African American have subject themselves under the dominion of those particular entities that are held as slaves. I'll put it like that.
Okay.
The Virginia Corporation.
So basically, brother, what you're saying is that minority is another word for slave here in North America.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm sure the listening audience may be a little shocked as a result of that, because we say minority so frequently. Sheik Loville, what are some of the strategies used today to keep the minorities from rising to the highest heights?
Well, I'm so glad you. First of all, I want to say all praise is due to Allah, the great God of the universe. I'd like to give honors to Prophet Noble Ali for teaching us the truth about who we are, where we come from.
Islam.
Nationality is truly the order of the day. I just want to camelback on something that the Grand Sheik said prior to you going into the other discussion about the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Moorish Science Temple of America is as well as a religious organization, it is also what is known as a constitutional theocratic monarchy. Now, I'm going to explain what that is, because, see, we operate in accordance to the divine constitution and bylaws, which is composed of 7 acts. We also have a monarch, which is the Prophet Noble Ali. As the Moor just indicated so elegantly, he is royalty. We all are royalty and extension to the Prophet. So also going further, constitutional theocratic monarchy, theo meaning God, from God. So it's basically a government that's set up by Allah and with the Prophet sent through to give us the truth about who we are and where we come from. Now, getting back to what you were talking about with regards to the status and some of the maneuvers that are used to try to relegate us to the status of minority, something I want to bring to the audience attention. If you are in fact referring to yourself as minority, then who is the majority?
Right.
See, these are things that we have to be cognizant of. And this is why we have to utilize critical thinking when we talk about civics and how it relates to us. You also brought us something earlier with relates to civics and how it is the duty of citizens or members to pretty much enforce the laws and make sure everything is going above board with that particular entity, whether it's a religious society or some other form of government. Some of the maneuvers that I think is interesting that are used to continuously relegate us to minority status is, well, when they say you need an attorney or you need someone to handle your affairs. Not to say that there's something wrong with having an attorney to handle your affairs, but when this is utilized, when you actually have a situation where there are people that are making a stand for their actual freedom, such as we, Moorish Americans, Moorish American Muslims in this day and time. And then for ones to say, to try to utilize that as a strategy, well, you need an attorney. First of all, if someone is representing you, then that means that you're not cognizant of how to handle your own affairs. So that puts you in a minor status. Minor is the root word to minority.